We're live. Yep. Morning, councillor staff. Welcome to our special meeting for the adoption of the annual report. And agenda item, I'll hand over to Mr. Lewis and Ms. Hatch.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, good morning, councillors. Under section 182 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, council is required to present its annual report within a month of the presentation of the financial statements. The financial statements were received by council in November, hence we had the special meeting to present the annual report. It's Ms. Hatch's and my pleasure to table the annual report for consideration by council, and I would also like to acknowledge Christine for her work in formulating the document that you have before you today, as well as Jen from our comms unit, who undertaken a fair bit of work to get it to this position.
Just before we go, Mr. Lewis, just so everyone's aware, Councillor Fredman is an apology. Councillor Devereux is joining us via Zoom. Thank you.
We've also taken the opportunity to reduce the footprint of the annual report this year and basically give some good news stories, but also concentrate on our statutory obligations and reporting requirements, so that you'll see that there's a significant reduction in the amount of information that is presented today.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Miller?
I just asked in the recommendation say that we are delegating authority to the Mayor and CEO to approve administrational changes. Is that any major changes?
No, that wouldn't be any really content. It won't be grammatical errors or things of that ilk.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Miller?
I do have a couple referring to the regulation. 186B, expenses incurred by councillors. I know in the report that it has just our basic expenses such as our phone and vehicles, but I believe that it requires all expenses to be documented. And I do remember a conversation about a corporate credit card, and I was expecting to see those expenses in this annual report for transparency, as I believe all other expenses incurred by councillors should be made under this report for transparency for the community. So are we going to...
You're referring directly to the Mayor's credit card?
Credit card and any other expenses under our reimbursement policy.
We can probably track the expenses under the corporate credit card, but some of the other expenditure may be difficult to derive given our current financial system.
So, things like training and costs incurred of that, I believe we probably should be able to
do that.
If that's possible. Is that something that we can do under the recommendation that's before us?
Yep.
You're wanting all extra expenses from councillors as well, Councillor Miller?
Anything that's captured under the reimbursement policy, which is hospitality expenses, it could be travel expenses claimed to any...
So councillors attend conferences, that sort of thing?
Yeah, if they're outside, that's because it's everything captured under that policy. I do know it's been missing. I thought we're working our way to actually having that transparently documented for the public. Good.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Warder.
Through the chair, on that subject too, we spoke about capturing even fuel expenses for council cars. There was something I think that you were saying last time that it's hard to capture that.
We provide an allowance, I think, for the majority of councillors of $8,000.
Yes.
So that $8,000 is reflective of the running costs of the vehicle.
Of that, yeah. And the others with the fuel cards? Which is the council cars.
Yep.
That's something that's hard to capture.
It is, but
right.
We can have a look at that as well.
Because it is an expense to the ratepayer.
It is. Yep.
Fuel, the car, damages, tyres, everything.
Yep.
Those who opt for their own, it's just the 8,000, that's it, knocked on the head.
So the 8,000 really is a reflective amount of how much we believe that car's costing us to run.
Yes.
Function.
Yep. Because we do have councillors that had opted for their own car and those who opted for council cars. We've had quite a few different, for example, hailstorms, that's not covered.
No.
where it's completely covered by the council when you've got a council car. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Mill?
Under section 186 of the regulation, again, we do have to report the conduct disclosures, and I believe that we're omitting the requirements under E, which is the names and descriptions for those particulars, which is 150AH 1 and 150AR1 as well. We have
Names and descriptions, mean in the register?
It has to be in the annual report. Name of each councillor whose decision, order or recommendation mentioned in paragraph D, which is the 150I and 150AH and 150AR1.
I'm not sure what that are.
Yeah. Let's pick that up.
We'll take that under notice and amend that if required
Yeah.
under the CEO's delegation.
That's all? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Polly?
Like we said, you kept this report condensed. Now, when it goes live, like thinking of things that Mr. Councillor Milne said, is there ability to click on a link? You know, like when we have our cash flows, you click on a link and it goes to another page, and there it is in greater detail. Because obviously, for this report, you want to keep it condensed. But then, if people want to find out specific information, there it is. No, the report is the report.
Not at this point in time.
Right. Yeah.
If there's no other questions, councillors, we have a recommendation there before us. Is there someone to move? Councillor Stewart, someone to second? Councillor Polly, Councillor Stewart to speak.
Sorry about that. Mr. Mayor, this report is generally a good story, and I guess that's what you tend to put in a report. Just noting that last question from Councillor Polly about further information, we do get the quarterly reports from each directorate, which provide a lot of information about what's happening in the council organisation and what council's doing in the community, I guess. We had opportunity to ask for some changes, which I did ask for some changes. One was around dividing up the general rates from the utility charges and that, because it's a big chunk of money, I guess. So the general rates is about 52 million, and the water and sewage about 24 million, and the waste management about 8 million a year. So it just shows that, well, some people pay a lot of general rates. People in town in particular pay a lot of extra for the services they get. And I think that's probably all. I'm very happy. Oh, the other thing is that in terms of the ratios, when operating surplus ratio we didn't meet the target. It's unfortunate. It's due mainly to extraordinary items, such as information technology upgrade and Southside sewage connections. But unfortunately, that might continue over the next year or two as well. So I'm happy to move this report as it is. I thought it was good stories and some warts as well.
Councillor Polly?
In the same vein, thank you to the staff that put this together. I think it's just critical for people to understand, remember, this is just a snapshot of history now. I mean, when we read the thing and going, this is ancient history to me, 6 months old. But in years to come, people have got to look back and go, oh, I remember that, this is where we're at. And specifically page 40, I thought was quite interesting when we looked at the cash balances, and you can see that our cash balances were, I mean, even if it's 26 million, that's actually really bottoming out. And you see where we've come from in 3 short years up to 89 million in cash balances. So thank you to Mr. Lewis for his hard work in turning this massive ship around. And things like this will be remembered 10, 50 years down the track. So the report is what it is, and I thank the staff for doing it, and happy to move that we accept this report.
2 speakers for the recommendation, 8 speakers against, any other speakers for. Councillor Wardock?
I'd like to echo what the 2 councillors beside me have said. The report is basically a cut and paste with facts, some good, some bad. Next time I'd like to see some locals in here. And we've got a picture of a couple of guys here on the back of an asphalt. Next year, can we have Grader driver there, please? I think Tyne would like that.
Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Stewart to close.
Nothing further to add, thanks.
Take we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff. That concludes our special meeting for today.
9:10.
Good going.
And also, on an admin note, I'm pleased to announce that Ms. Alex